everybody, and welcome back to my channel. So today I want to get on here and talk about something that's been really bothering me and like flooding my feed everywhere I turn. It's this whole Trisha Paytas like scandal. Okay, so if you guys don't know, like Trisha Paytas came out and said she had like DID, which is formerly known as like multiple personality disorder. Now clearly Trisha has something wrong with her. We all know this. If you watch her, you know there's something wrong with her. Further than just being like a troll or, doing things for attention. Yes, she does do that a lot. But beyond that, there is something wrong with her. And she came out and made this video. And, coincidentally, or maybe not coincidentally, Anthony Padilla and this other chick in England or wherever the hell she is, dissociated, I don't know how to say her name, but she's basically, they're all in this thing, this tug of war of who is right. And just today, March 22nd, Trisha posted on her Instagram stories about some people sending her messages telling her to kill herself because she doesn't have DID and things like this. Okay, first of all, this reminds me a lot of like gatekeeper, elitist, shit, where people, just because you don't experience things like they do, or you don't, your illness doesn't show itself like theirs does, that you just automatically are wrong and you don't have it and you're a liar. Trisha does suffer with something. And for a lot of people, for someone like myself who does and has been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, that's what it looks like she has. Not diagnosing anybody, not at all. But, from outsider perspective, from like the things that she says she struggles with, and when you're borderline, you also switch. You don't have big bouts of amnesia, DID, but you do switch. I switch. I have about 3 personalities in me. I do remember, but I cannot control these things. I cannot control. Sometimes I will not remember, but it's never, everybody experiences mental illness differently. You cannot be, Trisha is trying. If you haven't watched Trisha's videos, you wouldn't know that she just recently started going to a mental health professional. She just recently, within the last year or so, started actually acknowledging something is wrong with her. And if you know anything about mental health journeys, it's not easy. You can look up symptoms of things and you say, you know what, I experienced that. And for you to be diagnosed with something by a therapist or a psychiatrist or a psychologist, you have to meet a certain number of these criteria. And if you are experiencing those criteria and if you're experiencing those symptoms, who is somebody else with a disorder to tell you that you don't have that? That is so, if that's elitist behavior if I ever seen it myself. Like, it's in like a lot of communities, like gothic communities, where like if you don't have like certain clothing, or if you don't have a certain look, or if you don't have this or that, you don't listen to certain music, you can't label yourself as goth. It's the same fucking thing. It's like this gatekeeper. You don't experience things like I do, so you're just lying. Like, come on now, you guys. And people sending her messages telling her to kill herself. Like, I would be so ashamed of myself if you were even my child behaving that way. I'd be ashamed to call you my own child, because what kind of sick person sees somebody suffering? Yeah, she may not suffer with DID. She may suffer with something else, but it's severe enough to where we all see it. And just because she's not labeling herself the crazy we want her to label herself as, what we all see, she's automatically a liar and like attention seeking. And like everybody's just turning, Trisha, if you see this video, I want you to remember that the world right now is in turmoil. And the reason you're getting so much hate is because it is easy. It's easy. You're an easy target. Not saying it's right. Obviously, that's not right. You should not be experiencing the level of harassment that you are. And I'm sorry that you're receiving these messages to tell you to kill yourself. That actually makes me want to cry. Seeing somebody like in so much mental torment for so long, and then people discounting her experience because it's not like somebody else's, is so messed up. It almost, and people wonder why we're like, people with mental health problems are scared to come out and say, hey, I suffer. Seriously, look at the reaction people are giving her. It's just sickening. It's honestly sickening, and it's worrisome. But Trisha, I want you to remember, like, you are more than your illness. You're more than what people label you as. You're more than what you label yourself as. Like, you know, if to get answers and to help yourself, continue to see a therapist, continue to see psychologists, and you don't have to go on medicine for these things. It's recommended sometimes, but it doesn't mean you always have a choice. And if you're suffering with something and you're scared to come out because you're scared of backlash and you're scared people are just going to call you a liar or attention seeking, just keep speaking. People are going to hear you. The right people will hear you. And it honestly makes me sick that people think it's okay to tell somebody to kill themselves when they're so obviously suffering. You know, it's not right. It really isn't. And it's, I don't know, really, you know, it's just been all over my freaking, all the videos, because I watch Trisha, and, you know, drama channels seem to be a big market these days, and so a lot of that, they are talking about it. So it's kind of like I can't really escape it. Of course, I can choose not to click on the videos, but, you know, I have nothing else to do. Just know that words can affect people, and they do affect people. And for a long time, people can carry things that you say with them for a very long time, and it can affect so many different facets of their life. Just because she may not have DID does not mean she deserves all of this slew of hate that is coming her way. She so clearly suffers with something. And just because it is, you know, she's trying to figure out what she suffers with. You know, when you start to try to figure out what's wrong with yourself, and yeah, she's got the money to go see a therapist. It does not mean that everyone is capable of doing said things. For a lot of people, it's really hard to come to terms with, hey, I'm suffering and I need help. It is very hard to admit those things to yourself and finally follow through and get the help. Somebody like me, I've been going on and off to therapy for most of my life, more than half, and I'll still get it in my head that I'm good and I don't need it. Or I get anxious when I have to go talk, because you're talking about heavy ass subjects when you go to these places. So you have to, like, you know, when you let all this stuff out, it is emotionally and physically draining. And so a lot of times people who are suffering with mental illness, they avoid talking about these things for just this reason, you know. So just think before you speak. Just because she's not suffering with what we think she's suffering with, and she's trying to figure out her own mind, you know, these symptoms that you need, these criteria that you need to meet for these diagnoses are, a lot of people experience these things, but you have to meet a certain number of them. And just because someone suffers different than you does not mean they're not suffering. So just remember that. Trisha, just remember that you're strong and that you do have people that support you. And yeah, I love you guys, and be nice to each other, please. We're all suffering right now. We're all panicking. We're all unsure of what the future holds. So the last thing we need to be doing is being mean to each other and like kicking each other while we're down. Please, let's just love each other. You know, we're all one. I love you guys. Bye.